And this is also why I think almost all of his meaningful relationships have crumbled in the last couple of years, because he views a healthy relationship or a sustainable relationship with him to be one where other people abandon themselves, which is not a relationship then. Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for coming back if you've been here before, or hi, welcome if you're new. My name's Mickey. I'm a therapist, and we talk about therapy things on this channel. Today, we're talking about Sister Wives. For those of you who don't know, by the way, I stream every Friday, and we have been watching the most recent season of Sister Wives. However, at the point that you're watching this, we have since wrapped season 18, and I want to do a deep dive into the older seasons. There's so much content here. Kody especially is particularly interesting to me, and his relationship with his wives. We're going to talk in later episodes or later videos on this channel about his relationship or lack thereof with his children also, because there's a whole lot for us to unpack there. But for the sake of succinctness, I want to talk to you guys today about Kody's relationship with his wives. So I have some clips for you. A shout out to our Discord, by the way. If you want to support the channel, by the way, one of the great ways that you can do that is by subscribing to our Patreon, which will give you access to our Discord server. And the folks in our Discord server were kind enough to give me some jumping off places to start with some of Kody's most egregious behavior. There's also some stuff that I found particularly interesting in here. So we're going to kind of talk through some older stuff. I'll try to give you guys the seasons and episode numbers as we go, but that's what we're doing today. I'm really excited to dive into this. I think Kody's behavior is particularly interesting. It's drawn a lot of commentary from folks like myself, other therapists, and also just other people who are really curious about why Kody is the way that he is. There's especially a lot of discourse about whether or not Kody is a diagnosed clinical narcissist. So we're going to get into that today a little bit, my opinion on that. But first, let's watch this clip. This clip that we're going to watch right now is from season 14. Episode 14, I believe. This is a clip of Kody and his wife Meri, who was his first wife, going to couples counseling. They actually traveled across state lines to go see an old counselor, an old therapist of theirs. So we're going to talk about that therapy session because it's egregious. Also, spoiler, I've watched all of this already. But it's fine. We're going to talk about it anyways. Okay, let's get into this clip.
Hello, strangers. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
Nobody comes to see their therapist because things are good. But come on in. It's good to see you.
Listen, I don't disagree.
We come to a therapist because things want to get better.
Okay.
So nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Oh, I would go see Nancy every other week if Kody was up for it. I would just like to get the situation resolved and, move forward with it. But I'm not going to push the situation either, though. I don't think it's safe to do that.
I want you to know this is
Really
one of
quick.
the thickest files I have.
Really quick, the show would not pause. Really quickly, I want to address the thing that Meri just said, which is that it's not safe for me to do that. Red flag, red flag. I really am about to invest in an actual red flag for me to wave around when we watch these videos, because if you ever feel like bringing up the issues in your relationship or wanting to work on your relationship is going to be not safe for you, or that your partner's going to respond to that in a way that makes you feel emotionally, physically unsafe, uncomfortable, this is so bad. Like, this is the reddest of red flags. I don't think that's like really necessarily news to anybody, but still, this is not a good look for this relationship.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Good that you're adding some more pages, I guess.
You're welcome. Either there's just not a lot of hope for us because this file is so thick, or it just shows our persistence. Kind of ridiculous.
Okay, listen, I thought it was odd that they included this. For what it's worth, as a clinician, I'm a little bit annoyed by people stigmatizing going to therapy for a long amount of time. To be clear, this is a normal thing that people do, especially in relationships, right? Like, the work that we're doing to improve our relationship is often not just us in our ability to relate to another person, but it's us working on our own stuff, our own internal things, how that potentially pushes buttons or is like, fits like a puzzle piece with our partner's internal things and their stuff. And so it's all very complex. It's very normal for couples therapy to take a fair amount of time. To be clear, I don't think that Kody is a good partner to anybody, least of all Meri, but again, I just wanted to be clear, working on your relationship for like a long amount of time is not a bad thing, and it's not a sign that your relationship is failing also. I think we as a culture should really normalize that working on your relationship at any stage of conflict is like a healthy and normal thing to do, and that like this is okay, right? Like working on your relationship doesn't mean that it's inherently falling apart. Which actually is a perfect opportunity for us to talk about this week's sponsor, which is Paired. For those of you who don't know, Paired is a relationship care app that is filled with daily couples questions and fun little games and quizzes and exercises designed to help you work on your relationship. I know that y'all talk about me and Aaron being relationship goals, and like, listen, I think we're cute also, but the truth is that we work on our relationship like anybody else, and Paired has actually been a really fun and integral part of that. For us, taking care of our relationship is not just about the big moments, but it's also about the smaller everyday moments. And for us, Paired has been a really important part of those smaller everyday moments in helping us work on our relationship. In the app, you can start a conversation by selecting a type like a game or a quiz, an area like conflict or intimacy, or you can select an expert, and then you and your partner both finish your answers. And once you're both done, then you unlock each other's answers and you can compare, which is my favorite. Aaron and I have had so much fun unlocking each other's answers and getting to talk about like why you chose this or why I answered that way. Even though we've known each other for a long time, it's been really fun to continue learning about each other in this way. My favorite part about the app though is that you don't have to be in the same room to use the app together. So even though our schedules are not particularly compatible and we can be really busy sometimes, we can still be using the app together, and it sends you reminders. Godspeed for the reminders. Aaron and I are really loving Paired, and I really want y'all to experience the magic of it also. So click that link in the description, and Paired will give you a 7-day free trial and 25% off of Paired Premium. So you can get started on deepening and maintaining your connection with your partner. Thank you so much to Paired for sponsoring this week's video. Let's go ahead and hop back in.
Give me a sense for what has gone on between you. It's been almost a year and a half since I've seen you.
Go ahead.
You can go.
All right. I think, are
Just real
trying
quick.
to be kind with you.
I'm going to try not to pause every 12 seconds. But the contempt between these two is noteworthy in my opinion. The like humorless laugh and the awkward silence and like the stare of 1,000 knives. Again, not a good sign.
Each other. We've gone to dinner a couple of times.
So the honest position is nothing's happening.
I feel like it's a muscle. I feel like you have to work it to strengthen it. And I don't feel like we're working that muscle.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but I think that's just a cliche. We're family.
Just again, I'm really trying not to pause it every 12 seconds, but this was something that I wanted to point out to you guys because we talked about this a lot in the streams, but the way that Kody conducts himself in these conversations, particularly conflict resolution, is such a red flag to me, but it's also very illuminating of like the type of person that he is and the goals that he seems to have in regards to communication and conflict resolution, which oftentimes seems about himself, right? It seems like his goal primarily is to talk over people, to not allow people the space to express their opinions, and also to devalue and invalidate people. I want to draw your attention to the fact that the therapist opened the room and said, give me a sense of what's going on here. It's been a year and a half since I've seen you. So like status report essentially. And Meri says, go ahead, knowing likely that Kody is a person who is obsessed with himself and wants to talk first and foremost. And Kody says, no, it's okay, you can go. So Meri starts talking, and then Kody interrupts her to say this, that, blah, 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 whatever. And then Meri says, listen, I think it's, our relationship is a muscle that needs to be strengthened, and we're just not working out that muscle right now. And then Kody says, I don't disagree with you, but I also think that's a cliche. This type of interaction where anything that Meri says gets a correction, gets a commentary, gets invalidated in some way, there's always some kind of like little nitpicky thing that Kody has to add on as an addendum to either correct her or again, invalidate her. And I want to encourage you to pay attention to this, not necessarily because of Kody himself specifically, but because if you see this happening in your relationships, in your life, this is a bad sign, right? No one who loves you and is committed to working on a healthy relationship with you should be committed to this pattern of constantly invalidating you and criticizing you and like nitpicking you to death. I think it's important to acknowledge that like over the course of an entire lifetime, like Kody and Meri were married for 30 some odd years, this adds up to a larger picture of somebody feeling not empowered to use their voice, of somebody feeling as though everything that they say or do is wrong, and this power imbalance in a relationship where one person always gets, first of all, the speech base, but second of all, the last word and the ability to tell their partner basically like your feelings, your emotions, your experiences are wrong, bad, not true, not valid in this, interaction, and I'm never going to honor the things that you're bringing to the table. over time, this really is going to result in like, first of all, a breakdown of communication, but also like a really severe wound to somebody's self-image and self-efficacy. It's really hard to advocate for yourself or even to feel a desire to advocate for yourself when you know full well that your partner is going to pick you apart, is going to like pick at the language that you use or the tone of voice that you're using, the way that you're saying stuff, what exactly you're saying. This is exhausting. And I really want to encourage people to be aware of this because, again, if someone in your life is doing this to you, sometimes the kindest thing that we can do for ourselves is to say, you know what? I'm removing myself from this situation. I am no longer engaging in conversations with someone who is committed to misunderstanding me, who is not open to the things that I have to say. And in order for me to protect myself, the safest thing that I can do is just choose to remove myself, right? That's a valid response in regards to like someone treating you this way, because at a certain point, it feels like hopeless, I think. And I think also the hopeless affect really comes across in Meri's body language and the way that she speaks, but we're going to get into that in a second. So let's keep watching.
But we're not acting married.
I know one of the things that he has said is that he doesn't want to move forward with trying to work things out with me until things are in good standing with everybody else.
I don't mind what you're saying, Meri, but I do want to make a slight correction. Is like we can do this simultaneously.
You see, this is exactly what I was talking about. This thing where anything that Meri says, slight correction. I just want to say, like, stop it. First of all, Kody, stop it. It's exhausting and irritating. But again, if you see this happening in your life, in your relationships, please know it's not that you say everything wrong. It's not that you're bad or that you're not a good communicator or whatever. It's that this person is committed to picking at you and will never see your points as valid. It does not matter how kindly, concisely, clearly, intelligently you phrase your feedback or your input or your feelings. This person will be committed to invalidating that and robbing you of the experience of advocating for yourself, which sucks, and it's not a healthy or appropriate behavior in a relationship.
I want to take, if you will, an entirely holistic approach to this. Meri and I have our own relationship, got to work on ourselves. We're a very, very large family. All the relationships are intertwined. It's an issue of we are one family. Let's be whole as one family. I feel like I'm waiting for change, specifically with the other relationship, really more specific to the kids, the adult children, than to wives, but that would go sort of hand in hand.
Some of my relationships with the older kids are better than some of my other relationships. I have had conversations with, some of the other kids. Some of them I feel were good, and some of them I feel like there's a little bit of a conflict.
Meri has these great relationships everywhere she goes in business, but she doesn't have great relationships with the family. And it makes me curious why her cohorts in business outside the family have these phenomenal relationships with her and none of us do.
First of all, again, I want to point out the hyperbole, the superlatives that we're using here. She has awesome relationships with everybody else, but no good relationships with anybody in our family. This is such a sweeping generalization and like tactic 1.1 out of the manipulation handbook, because usually what happens when somebody does this to you, where they say, you never, you always, is that we go, well, this one time I did this thing, and now our conversation has derailed. This person has effectively distracted you from what is actually a really valid point, in the sense that, like, for example, Meri doesn't need to have perfect or great relationships with every single person in the family unit in order for her concerns to be valid and heard in her specific relationship with Kody. But now it's things get derailed. We're like, why are we talking now about Meri's professional relationship with her peers and not the relationship with Meri and Kody? And especially because Meri essentially offered this feedback of like, I feel like we, Kody and I, are not flexing the muscle that is our relationship, which is not an inherently accusatory or blamey way to say that we as a relationship, as a unit, as an organism, are just not really functioning optimally right now. And Kody turns this into, well, you have bad relationships with everyone in our family. You are not a good sister wife. You're not a good mom to all of the other kids. And so therefore I refuse to work on my relationship with you because it's your fault, but also because until you do X, Y, and Z, I refuse to see you as valid. Like, this is so inherently abusive. And the thing about it that's really scary, in my opinion, first of all, is that TLC fucking filmed it and then put it on TV. But second of all, that this is sort of like under the radar behavior, right? Like, I think for a fair amount of people watching this show, there's like a feeling of like, ew, Kody sucks, right? But there's not necessarily like a lot of education or popular discourse about the fact that what Kody is doing is genuinely, legitimately abusive, because he's holding hostage his love and affection, but also his willingness to work on himself and their relationship, provided that Meri does X, Y, and Z. Like, this is not an appropriate dynamic to exist in relationships. If anybody does this to you, run away.
What I'm concerned about is that you've had 18 months of accomplishing very little in terms of the two of you. That, from my perspective, is really wasted time.
So my question in my life,
Just, it blows my mind that this therapist, first of all, was not like, hi, wow, that's super fucking weird, Kody, that you're not willing to work on your relationship. And also, what is this about Meri's relationship with her coworkers? Who cares, right? That the therapist didn't immediately clock this as being abusive and manipulative. At the very least, a bad faith argument, but basically was just like, you guys are wasting time. Hello? Like, Nancy, girl, what are you doing? I want to be clear. I, by no means, am the authority on couples counseling. It's not a specialty of mine. It's not an area that I've received a lot of training in. I've done a couple of, smaller, like, specific trainings about particular issues, but I want to be clear. I am not the authority on couples counseling, and this is a bad take.
is how do I have a relationship with somebody that after knowing for years, I don't want a relationship with because of the hurt and the struggle and stuff. And I'm not blaming Meri here.
You are.
I'm just saying that we're trying to heal a very, very deep wound in a sick body, and it's a challenge. We're trying to
It's all so hard
is
for Kody.
have a nice time. That's all I'm interested in. But that's because of where we went was going nowhere but to the end. This struggle that I'm having is way deeper than the catfishing experience. The catfishing was really just a wake-up call for Meri and I. Our problem ran much deeper than that, and it's probably why we led up to why the catfishing even happened. And I don't think yet that we've really admitted cleanly that it really ended, because I could be mistaken.
Oh, I've admitted it. I've mourned it.
But you're looking, I feel like, Meri, you're looking to get something back, and we're not getting something back. We're going to have something new. Meri Moore.
See how this whole conversation, first of all, is like just gobbledygook. Like, first of all, what is he saying? But second of all, this always turns into, no, Meri, you're wrong. No, Meri, that's not right. No, Meri, that's not actually what you want or what you're saying or what you're feeling. At this point now, this conversation has devolved into Kody apparently is the expert on everyone's feelings, even people's that are not his own. He apparently is in authority to tell Meri what she is looking for, what she wants, and what she's feeling. And the therapist is just like, ma'am, hello?
Mourns the loss of what we had. Scary to me, but I regret what we had.
This is such a power
the
thing.
relationship between he and I is gone. It's dead. It's over. And having to mourn that while I'm still here, still having the history, and attempting to start something new, and whatever is that going to look like.
Super
I
valid.
do not know how to wrap my head around this because, I want something back. I want a relationship with him.
And I think that's where I have been, is let's try to figure out how to move forward. And I have thought that that's kind of where he was too.
That is where I'm at.
Okay, but see, again, I just want to point out to you that all of the communication that Meri has brought to the table so far has been, I think, I feel, this is my experience, right? She's not speaking over top of anybody. She's not asserting or insisting that anybody is doing or thinking or feeling anything. She's simply saying, this is where I'm at. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking to get out of this situation. And I think, or I thought, Kody was in this place too, but leaves that open to interpretation. This is ideally what we want to be seeing from, like, anything in regards to a relationship, really, but especially like couples counseling, things like that. Somebody who has this openness, like, this is a green flag. I want to be clear. I don't think that Meri and Kody should be together, because I think that Meri, anybody on the face of planet Earth, deserves leaps and bounds above what Kody is willing or able to provide in relationships. And I just want to point out again that I think the reason that this couples counseling is devolving so quickly is not because of Meri.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly where I'm at, is what do we do going forward?
People ask me all the time why I don't just leave. I wouldn't just be walking away from Kody. I'd be walking away from the whole family and,
Which is hard.
the relationships with the kids and the good relationships that I do have in the family.
Meri, every time I've done an honest conversation here with Nancy, and I guess I And Nancy, you told me I'm just completely insensitive, but she goes completely to victim mode when I say anything that's of a truth.
I will admit that.
There's an unhealed victim that I think needs to be healing before her and I can have a whole relationship.
See, he's holding it hostage
I
again.
want to protect myself. I disagree that it's victim mode, but I do agree that it's defensive, and I put my wall up.
The fact that she's even willing to entertain this again, I think just speaks volumes about the lengths that Meri is willing to go to try to salvage this relationship, which is a whole conversation in and of itself. But regardless, again, I want to point out the fact that he is withholding his willingness to work on their relationship or to really engage with her contingent on her doing some X, Y, or Z thing. And I think also at this point, like, it's starting to become clear that I don't think it really matters what she does. I don't think there was ever something that Meri could have done or said or not done or not said that would have meant that Kody was willing to engage in good faith in repairing this relationship. Because truly at this point, this is just, there is a phrase in my practicum in my like early years of being a therapist that somebody taught me about clients like Kody, which is the yeah but client. And this is also part of the danger of being a therapist who tries to fix things for your client rather than empowering clients to find a good solution for themselves, which is that when a client says to you, for example, Meri is saying that she's willing to work on this relationship, Kody. Are you willing to do that? And then Kody says, well, yeah, but I'm not willing to do that until Meri does X, Y, or Z. And you say, okay, well, Meri has said that she is doing these things. Well, yeah, but she's not doing it the way that I want her to. And so I'm still not going to do it. And like, okay, fine. Then Meri, are you open to doing things the way that Kody wants to? And if Meri says, yes, no, I am. And then Kody goes, well, yeah, but. And so it's always this objection. It's always something. There's always some reason that Kody can't be held to task for his end of the bargain in this relationship. And like, this is again the point at which, like, in my opinion, a therapist who has the safety of both of her clients in mind would be like, we're done. Right? Like, this is not going anywhere productive. And I think at this point, Meri is tying herself up into knots to try to please you. And there is nothing that she can do to get you to like truthfully, honestly engage in this process. And at that point, a therapist needs to be cognizant of the fact that sometimes if we're not like really screening appropriately for abusive behaviors like this, that we can become a participant in the abuse by enabling the abuser to have a greater vocabulary, a greater pool of interventions or like manipulation tactics to pull from. And at that point, again, like, we're perpetuating harm and we're participating in the abuse. And so the safest thing that we can do is to say, listen, I think that this relationship is abusive. I am not feeling okay about my ability to participate in this arrangement ethically and safely. And so, for the safety of everybody involved, like, for example, Meri, I'm urging you to get some support and some safety out of this situation and to leave, but I can't participate in this counseling anymore because this is not going to be helpful or safe for anyone. But of course, that didn't happen. So like, not surprised. Actually, I am surprised. I am surprised, first of all, that this happened and also that we filmed it and put it on TV.
I cannot be her Jesus.
Hello?
I tried doing that for years, and it was probably the wrong thing to do, and I completely don't believe I should do it now. I got a rescue complex. All I'm trying to point out now here is I realize in the past I was always trying to fix this.
Exhausting.
I was always trying to fill up a love tank. It's just exhausting sometimes.
What I'm hearing him say is that your level of sensitivity and reactivity has been so great that getting to the deeper stuff we're talking about, the more substantial stuff, has not been possible.
Yeah, I recognize that with what he's saying.
And do you agree with that?
On a level, yes.
Okay.
I also know that I react and then I come back later. I'm like, okay, wait a second.
Sure.
I needed to not react that way.
So we are open to going deeper today.
I am.
You?
Both ways.
Really quick, I just want to point out the fact that this therapist actually said the reason that you guys have essentially accomplished nothing over 18 months is because of Meri's sensitivity and reactivity. Like, has she met Kody? Listen, I want to be clear. I also recognize that of the 4 wives, Meri is the one who often gets labeled as like the more sensitive or emotionally deep wife, especially in contrast to somebody like Janelle, who leans more towards this like very logical and like objective or fact-based affect. And so I recognize that there might be an aspect of emotional reactivity here, like fine, right? First of all, I think that's morally neutral. I think that's human. But second of all, I really disagree with this premise of like, oh, the reason that you guys aren't getting any work done is because of you specifically, right? Because like, first of all, That's a great way to annihilate your rapport with one of your clients. But second of all, the truth, especially in couples counseling, is that rarely, if ever, is it one person's singular fault and that's the end of the story. The truth is often that there is a lot of give and take and back and forth, and especially like interacting of our own trauma wounds and our own like reactivities and things like that end up like co-escalating a situation. And to just simply not hold Kody to task in this is like, first of all, wrong in my opinion, but also like egregiously irresponsible.
I don't believe after the year and a half we've been going, and I'll try, but I don't think that I'm up for any criticism.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Huh?
Something has triggered me because I am angry. In this relationship, it's gotten to the point where I am just done with hearing how I am wrong. I'm not stepping into this to sit there and be ridiculed again. I feel like I was deceived.
Hold on. Let's watch this next section and then we'll talk about it.
Into a relationship that was very different than what I expect. Once I was in it, after I had gone to my maximum, taking what I was going to take, it tended to, that was going to other people. Meri and I had a very fast courtship with a lot of expectations, a lot of not communicating. I didn't know who I was marrying. And as things unfolded, I started to become very troubled, even bitter by the situation I was in.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit, because first and foremost, we have Kody admitting in couples counseling to the therapist, I am not available for any criticism whatsoever. No feedback from Meri. My ideal arrangement for this therapy session is me shitting on Meri and then we get the fuck out of here. Literally no, there's not a world where that's ever fucking appropriate. That's wild for someone to say that. But also I want to draw your attention to the fact that Kody describes Meri giving him what in all accounts is likely going to be pretty mild, I would assume, feedback based on the way that she's talked to him so far, and especially like in regards to their relationship generally. He views Meri giving him relatively mild feedback as being ridiculed. This type of disparity in somebody's perception, genuine or not, of the objective goings-ons in a relationship is so fucking concerning. If somebody speaks to you like this, please know that it is entirely possible that this person is struggling with some kind of disorder, diagnosis, issue that's causing them to not be able to engage with you authentically or to like really perceive this situation accurately. And so again, this is the point at which we need to be assessing for ourselves, is it safe for me to even engage in this conversation at all? Because there is just very little wiggle room to have a conversation where one participant views any feedback about their behavior as ridicule and one participant views their role in this equation as like just the one who gets shit on, right? Like this is not going to be a safe arrangement. And I want to be clear, there is a healthy give and take and like compromise that we will experience with our partners, especially if, for example, people will come to the table with all different types of sensitivities. For ADHD folks, this can look like rejection sensitivity dysphoria. For people with complex trauma, this can just look like a reactivity around being told that they're wrong, or like a really strong shame response, for example. All of that is morally neutral. That's allowed. That's okay. That's also something that a good therapist can help you work through, right? To help hold the space of like, hey, Kody, I'm seeing that you're maybe having a little bit of a shame response. Like, let's talk about that. Where is that coming from? Is that a childhood wound? How can we show up with that emotion, show that part of you some compassion, and also honor the truth that Meri is giving you feedback about you, not because she thinks you're a bad person, not because she thinks you're a bad partner, but because she wants to work on your relationship. She loves you enough to work through this conflict together, and she wants to talk with you about it. So how can we like hold both of those things in our hands at the same time, right? That again is like a morally neutral and okay thing for people to experience in relationships. But what Kody is doing here is basically saying any feedback that anyone gives me, I am labeling as ridicule, and so therefore I am not available for it. And also, I've been deceived into being in a relationship that I didn't agree to, which also, for what it's worth, the rest of this clip, we don't get any clarity about what the fuck that means. There's no elaborating that happens. There's no clarity that's provided. And so I think that's also a bit of a red flag. If you're going to make statements like that, like my partner deceived me into being in a relationship with them, we better be willing to provide some fucking background about where the fuck that accusation came from, but we don't get any of that. And so like, Just fucking yikes all around. We're going to move on to the next clip because I think we've talked about this for a minute, but I do just really want to highlight the fact that Kody again and again demonstrates himself as being completely unavailable, if not unable, to receive feedback from anybody in good faith. And this is such a red flag about somebody's ability to be in safe relationship with you. Let's watch a little bit more of this clip. I just want to see if there's anything worth talking about.
I had gotten to a point where I was ready to wash my hands. I felt set free, and yet a knot out of moral obligations that I made covenants to in deception. I think that Meri and I aren't interested in a breakup because I don't think it's about religion. I think it's about commitment. Why break something up that is fixable? And
By who?
Nancy's made that absolutely clear that she believes that this is definitely fixable.
I think the issue is there the capacity for change when that surfaces? And the 7-year itch or the 17-year itch or whatever is often about that.
And that's where I've been open, is to that change.
Where?
But I'm not
Open
seeing
how?
that change. And what I do instead see is a perpetuation of what is my complaint from the beginning still happening in how other people are treated.
I have no idea what he's talking about. Like, I don't know what I'm doing to other people that I did to him, and now he's watching me do it to everybody else.
I'm reacting now to a behavior that I'm seeing being bestowed upon other people, not upon me necessarily. And I'm not willing to go deep enough into a relationship to have that ever be bestowed back upon me.
Just really quick, I know that this is kind of a nitpicky note, but I do think it's important education nonetheless. The language that Kody uses is also something to pay attention to, in my opinion. I really, especially after watching all of season 18, like back to back, basically, he does this a lot where he uses these words and phrases that are very like SAT words. And it really comes across as this person who fancies himself as the smartest man in the room, which like is annoying, right? But like not necessarily malicious, except that he weaponizes this language to try to make other people sound unintelligent, sound like their concerns are invalid, and to try to position himself as this holier than thou, preaching from on high, literally sometimes, authority figure. And this is a problematic dynamic to have in relationship. This whole thing, again, I think it's also clear at this point that Meri is just like lost, and like there is definitely an affective hopelessness about her, in the sense that like I don't know what he's talking about, and I don't know what he's saying or what it is that he's trying to allude to, and also that there's nothing really that she can do to sort of refute this, because if Kody has said that that's the way that it is, then that's just the way that it is, which is sad and abusive and just awful. Okay, let's watch this other clip. Popping a little bit further back, this is season 9, episode 4. I don't remember the title of this episode. I think it's something about Texas. Kody and Christine went to Galveston, Texas for their anniversary trip, and also apparently because one of their old therapists lives in Galveston, Texas. So again, I just want to also apparently they brought Nancy on the trip this time, which I just want to be super clear from the jump. That's not allowed, right? Like that's super inappropriate. I don't know if they're hiring Nancy in like the consultant role, because technically you can't conduct psychotherapy on camera. And so I don't know if this was like a workaround of like Nancy's technically providing us with life coaching, but like I'm not really sure what the fuck's going on here. It's hinky nonetheless, and I don't like it. I think for many reasons, not the least of which is the boundary concerns of like riding in the backseat of your client's convertible on their honeymoon or anniversary trip, but also the privacy aspect of this. We're going to see some therapy being conducted in public, which is an inherent confidentiality risk and is a violation of somebody's ethics and like licensure code. And so this is all fucking bad. I don't endorse this behavior. Please know that it is entirely possible to find psychotherapy that is not necessarily like the therapy of your, right? That's like really stuffy and sticky and like, you know, but also we do very much need to have appropriate and safe boundaries around it still. So, okay, let's watch this clip.
I want you guys to each find a stick.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel for him, and I feel like, okay, yeah, you've got a big job, and it's hard. But he chose this, you know? Yeah.
You know the expression or phrase, line in the sand?
Okay.
What does that mean to you guys?
Well, the line in the sand is where, you know, don't cross this line or else you'll...
It's your boundary.
It's your boundary,
Okay,
yeah.
I would like each of you to draw a line in the sand.
Like right here?
right? Okay.
Nancy has us draw these lines, and Nancy's making reference to how every relationship has certain lines. For me, there's a certain line that I've got where every single wife has to understand that I love, adore, and have a relationship with other wives.
And that's like one of your strong lines of conviction that we all need to recognize and understand.
Yeah, everybody has to recognize that the family as a whole has to be respected. That means the children, that means the wives.
One of the things we're going to work.
Really quick, Kody seems to have this fixation with the idea of the family as a whole, and I just want to point this out because this is the second time just in this video that during what is supposed to be counseling for Kody and one of his wives that he refers back to like, but you're not respecting the family, but you're not respecting the family. And I think this is a useful moment to point out the potentially ego-driven part of this equation, which is that Kody seems to really fancy himself the center of the universe in more ways than one. We talked about this a lot on the live streams, but just to recap really quickly, it is entirely morally neutral for people to engage in non-monogamous relationships where they have multiple partners, so long as everybody involved is consenting to the agreement and has the opportunity to express their autonomy and their own free will, essentially, in relationships. And the fact that this arrangement is such that Kody is allowed to, acquire new partners or spouses, but the wives are never allowed to do this is an inherent inequity and an inherent power imbalance, which is bad vibes, right? But I think, again, it's worth pointing out because Kody does seem to view his life from this lens of like, I need to be not only at the center of attention, but also like above everybody else, right? Like I need to be the person who is on the top of this social and relational hierarchy that enables me to say whatever I want, do whatever I want, and everyone should be structuring their relationships according to what I want, right? Again, which is problematic. This turns into abuse very quickly. This turns into manipulation very quickly, and it's just not a good norm in a relationship.
In the next couple of days is drawing lines, what we do them for, and the difference between drawn in conviction and drawn out of anger. I would like you now to take these lines and see if you can draw them one however you would like, that is a line of conviction.
So I want to draw a line that says, this is us together, and we're going to work it out, and that I won't ever cross over this line. I am never going to say, I am done, it's over. That's a line I'm not going to cross.
That age, like,
Christine,
nope.
do you join him in that one?
Done. I think it's okay to know where you stand on things, and it's good to know where you stand on things. And having conviction and having an opinion is okay. It's the matter in how you express your opinion and whether or not that's okay.
The fact that Kody is sitting there while Christine is saying what is, by all accounts, no offense to Christine, a pretty milquetoast fucking opinion. Like, you're allowed to have feelings. And Kody is like making this like confused and annoyed face as though he has an objection to that, I think really speaks volumes to the place that he's at in his relationship with all of his wives, not just Christine.
We want to walk on the beach now. Let's walk on the beach.
Are we good? You are good.
Wow, Nancy single-handedly saved their relationship by drawing one fucking line. Like, just, I don't want to be a nitpicky asshole. I'm sure that Nancy is a valued professional in lots of people's lives. And also, please know, this is not what therapy looks like, right? I will be the first person to say that sometimes therapy is unfun and difficult and challenging, and that it's important for therapists to have levity, to like bring in, like a well-placed reprieve from the heaviness. But this is not that, right? Like this is like very go girl, give us nothing. Like, thank you, Nancy, for absolutely nothing of value in that segment. Okay, let's talk about this next clip. We're going to fast forward a little bit. Okay, here we go.
Here and remind you of some foundational things that we've talked about in the past.
And so we're going to sit down on the porch and have more of an intense conversation.
Sure, maybe this will be better.
What does trust really mean in terms of intimacy with Christine?
When you don't have trust, you don't have intimacy. And what became apparent to Christine was the lack of intimacy. And you came to me saying, why is there a lack of intimacy? And I said, because there's a lack of trust. And then we started communicating. And so in that process, I mean, we're talking about this stuff has just been unfolding in the past 4 weeks. I think a lot of it has to do maybe with, her value of the whole family.
There it is again.
We came to a point in our relationship when we were still living in Utah where she was like, I hate the principle. I hate living this way. I hate this sharing. I hate feeling jealousy. I hate feeling these things. things.
Really quick, I want to point out a couple of things. First of which is that Christine is not new to the concept of polygamy. She grew up in a plural family. She's regarded by a lot of people who watch the show as like polygamous royalty. She came from a very big, like well-respected, like famous polygamist family. So the idea of like sharing wives, sharing your time and attention is not something that's new to her. And she's a person who has admitted that she was jealous and struggling with Kody dividing his time amongst his 4 wives. And I think regardless of whether it's just because Christine is inherently jealous or because of Kody's behavior, I think it's fair to acknowledge that this is not necessarily like a Christine thing. I think especially because we have a lot of documented proof about how Kody has so much favoritism and such a lack of interest in being a fair and equitable partner. Hold on, my feet are bothering me. This, I think, is more likely to be a window into the fact that Kody, even from the beginning, was not dividing his time evenly amongst the wives, and that Christine got labeled as this like jealous, like unhinged person. And I think the truth is probably that actually this was just more so a reflection of Kody being actually a really bad spouse.
I did say those things. I absolutely hate it. I remember I was in my room. I started to cry and I just said, I just hate it. It's too hard to watch you have these wonderful romantic relationships where I look at ours and it's struggling. I hate
very
that.
human.
And to me, I'm just saying, look, I'm miserable. I'm jealous as can be. I didn't know that I would be a jealous person. And I am so jealous and angry. And rather looking at the emotions behind what I was saying and really realizing that's the truth, he held on to me saying that I hated plural marriage.
Which also, again, I want to acknowledge that, first of all, feeling this jealousy is a morally neutral thing, even in polyamorous relationships where, again, the power imbalance is more equal, that we're not, not like one person is allowed to be non-monogamous and everybody else has to be monogamous. Even in those relationships that are equitable and fair, jealousy is still a thing that happens, right? Like, this is hard. It's not about not being jealous. It's about acknowledging the jealousy, being able to talk about it, being able to work through it. And ultimately, like Christine was saying, looking at the deeper emotion and asking then, you're experiencing some jealousy. It seems like maybe you're not feeling seen. You're not feeling valued. What are we needing to change in our relationship to make you feel seen, to make you feel more valued? How can I show up for you more? And not like, how can I, take away from somebody else to make you feel better, but how can I pour into you and our relationship to make that feel more fulfilling? This is, again, a morally neutral conversation that lots of non-monogamous people have. And I think it's also important to acknowledge here, again, that Kody seems to be more so offended by Christine saying, I don't like having a plural family, than he is by the fact that Christine is miserable in their marriage, which is a fucking giant red flag. And also, I think, a great indicator of like what his values are, which are primarily like things that uplift his ego and make him feel like this stereotype of a masculine, like high value male is what it seems like to me.
Appreciating that our family came together and you appreciating that what we are makes me trust you.
That's not normal, Kody.
And for me, trust and intimacy are intertwined.
Sure, fine.
Once I told Kody that I hated plural marriage, he shut down and the conversation was over. Just because I'm not enjoying it doesn't mean I'm leaving.
Look, sweetie, I'm not leaving. I might not like you, but I'm not leaving. That was where we had been, and we were crumbling.
And you're saying we just need more time, and I'm like, time to what? Keep falling into disrepair.
You have to find the way around those miscommunications, those misunderstandings. We've got to find out what's going to make this work for 25, 50 years more.
We're not communicating very well. We don't really know how to talk to each other without pushing each other's buttons. And because of that, there really isn't a foundation of trust. And there's no way you can trust somebody when you can't really hear anything that's coming out of their mouth, and nor can they hear you.
Just for what it's worth, also, I'm going to burst open. I'm sorry. I think it's also worth noting at this point that Kody yams on about trust and loyalty and obedience an awful lot on this fucking show. And I want to draw attention to the fact that Kody's concept of loyalty or trust seems to have a lot more to do with people parroting exactly what Kody thinks than it does with actual trust and loyalty, right? Kody's perception of the concept of trust and loyalty seems to be more so like, are these people willing to abandon themselves to suit me? And if they are, therefore they're trustworthy and they're loyal wives, right? But if they have dissenting opinions, if they have inconvenient emotions, if they have behaviors, thoughts, feelings, expressions that are not exactly what I want them to have, not just what I would do, but what I want them to be, then they're betraying me. And this is also why I think almost all of his meaningful relationships have crumbled in the last couple of years, because he views a healthy relationship or a sustainable relationship with him to be one where other people abandon themselves, which is not a relationship then. Kody objectifies people, he dehumanizes people, and he treats people like they're expendable. And I think that's not a coincidence then that all of the meaningful relationships in his life have gone away or exploded in spectacular fashion, save for a couple of people who seem to be, for better or for worse, reliant on him and locked into this really shitty power imbalance that causes them to be in a much more unsafe position to leave. And I think you get it. Let's just keep going. We have one more clip to watch. This is the most heartbreaking clip, so fair warning. Okay, Kody and Christine are going to build a rock tower on the beach at Nancy's behest. I don't know what Nancy's thing is with the beach, but we're really doing a lot of beach team building, so let's watch that.
She wants to see how well we work with each other after several days of
I
counseling.
think this is a trust building thing. This isn't about her seeing how well we work together.
Again.
It's about us seeing how well we work together.
Gotta nitpick her answer. Wouldn't be Kody if he didn't correct someone.
I want to build a house. Well, all right, so we build a foundation, family on 4 corners. Well, a foundation of 4 rocks, my 4 wives.
I mean, Nancy's like, build a tower that represents your relationship. You can see that Cody's going to build a tower that represents the family, doesn't represent our relationship.
Yeah.
And then we make everything fit nice and level there. We're building a house.
Okay.
It's our home. This is what we talk about all the time, is how our family is the soul of our home, and we're going to build a home.
Can it be a little different maybe this time? Can we have it just be about us this time?
Well, just trust me. We're just going to build this, and we'll see where it goes. Just trust me.
Okay.
How many rocks should we got? Should we do it with 22 rocks?
I think that the home shouldn't be 23. Look, like things like love and trust and compassion.
Oh my goodness.
Christine seemed to be somewhat, trying to take it a different direction. I just wasn't going to let her. It wasn't about Christine and I. It was about the family, the whole family.
But it's literally supposed to be about Christine and you, because it's your anniversary trip during your couples therapy sessions. And yet somehow, again, you see what I'm saying? You see the point that I'm making here, which is, again, that even when Christine is saying, you know what, this is not really the fucking vision that I had, but fine, I'll compromise with you. We'll do your little 4 corners with your house and the 23 fucking rocks for each person in our family. But how about we make each of the 23 rocks represent something that's important about our relationship, like love and trust and compassion. And Kody just goes, no. Anyways, go give me another rock. Like, if this doesn't speak, I think Christine talks about this later, but this ends up being such a symbolic and emblematic interaction about their entire relationship, which is essentially that his relationships with the individual wives don't exist. They disappear to suit this larger picture of Kody at the top of this pyramid with my 4 wives and my big family, and it's all about ego. This is all about Kody's obsession with himself and with the way that he's perceived, I think, by the world at large, but just like by people generally, as being what he thinks is an impressive and masculine and manly man, which is embarrassing, first of all, but also, again, occurred to the detriment of all of his relationships.
Do 22, but I think that we make them into something a little different.
There are a lot of times where he wants us all to do something together. And sometimes as wives, we're like, wait a minute, I need a little bit of time with just me, you, and maybe just our kids.
It is all about family, you're right, but it's about us too. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you just be present? Can you just be here with me?
No, apparently
he
not.
just doesn't get it.
Okay, but this is the thing. I don't think that Kody doesn't get it. I think that he doesn't care. I think that he is entirely capable of hearing what these people, especially his wives, are saying, but he just writes it off as like immaterial. This is also, we talked at the opening of the video how we're going to talk about the accusations that Kody is a clinical narcissist, which I think I understand where people are coming with this accusation, because again, as you watch more and more of this footage, it is so glaringly obvious that Kody is obsessed with himself, that he is this deeply selfish and self-centered person who has very little care or compassion for other human beings generally, but especially the people that he's in relationship with. And so I understand why people are pulled to this. And I do want to encourage people to be cautious with this. First of all, because it's not appropriate. I think if I've seen other therapists try to say definitively that Kody is a narcissist, and like, I think it's fucking bad vibes to be doing that. Because as clinicians, we are empowered and allowed to diagnose the people who have specifically and with an informed consent in mind, asked us to diagnose them specifically. And then we undergo this whole process that is actually somewhat complex, and it's difficult, and it's nuanced, and it's varied. It also requires a lot of deeply personal information about people before we can make a correct and definitive diagnosis. And so as clinicians, I think it's wholly inappropriate to be like, narcissist on the internet. I don't like that. I think that's inappropriate. I think it's really tiptoeing the line of violating people's professional ethics. And so like, for me, it's a side eye. We talk about the content on this channel with the purpose of creating like an awareness and an advocacy in the hope that you guys can take that information back into your own lives and your own relationships and like protect yourselves, for example. So I don't have any problems with labeling Kody, again, as a deeply selfish, a self-obsessed person who is abusive at times, who is manipulative, who is at the very least problematic in all of his relationships. And I would hesitate to label him as a narcissist, A, because I think it's inappropriate for therapists to try to diagnose strangers on the internet, but B, because the truth about personality disorders, even cluster B personality disorders, is that there is a very real possibility that someone can be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder or any of the personality disorders that get a bad rap. Borderline personality disorder is another one that gets like shamed and judged, that those people can have those diagnoses and be good people, right? There are other therapists on this platform that have personality disorders and are doing the work, are good people who are engaging in good faith in their relationships and like working on themselves. And I just think this is a truth about mental health that we should acknowledge, especially because there's a lot of talk and a lot of discourse on the internet about being pro mental health, about being anti-stigma in regards to mental health. And if you're somebody who wants to destigmatize mental health and therapy, that means all of mental health and therapy, not just the diagnoses that are easy to advocate for, not just the ones that you relate to, but all of the diagnoses, and that includes cluster B personality disorders, because again, it's entirely possible to be a person who's been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder and be a person who's going to therapy, who's doing the work, who's honoring their trauma, who's working through the stuff, and is engaging in good faith in their relationships to work through it so that they can be a better version of themselves. And I just really disagree, especially because Kody Brown is such an easily unlikable fucking person. I really, like, can we not make him the spokesperson for a diagnosis that, like, a lot of good and healthy and okay people have? Can we please not do that? Can we please not platform this man any more than he already has been? Because I think he's had enough attention for a lifetime. I think really the best thing that we can do in regards to people like Kody Brown is to talk about that in the realm of wanting to create like awareness around like abusive and manipulative behaviors, for example, and also let him fade into obscurity, right? Like, don't give that man any more positive feedback. Don't uplift him to be the face of something, because he really does not need any more feedback about his behavior. Okay, let's keep watching this.
Stabilizer.
Okay, Christine just doing the most, and he's ignoring her.
Like, he gets this idea in his head, and come hell or high water, he's just going to do it. There's not a lot of communication about what we're going to do. You are funny.
22.
You are set on the 22.
Well, you don't like that?
I don't know. I need to be heard here.
You like these little ones, huh?
Well, they're easier to carry.
Yeah, but they don't make a good foundation.
Oh, that's prophetic. It's like he just bulldozes and does what he thinks needs to be done. And sometimes it's for the good of everybody.
Is it?
But sometimes it just hurts a lot of feelings how he does it.
Now, how many is
Seems like
that?
it's about him.
Oh, I have no idea. Do you want to count?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Let me try it. 1, 2, 3.
He's like a child. He's like a little kid. It almost is like somebody with the emotional intelligence of like an elementary school child. I just am blown away and also grossed out by the way that Kody conducts himself in relationships, because I think it's clear also in Christine's affect, the same hopelessness that we saw in Meri earlier is in Christine. And this season was many, many years before the clips that we watched with Meri. And again, I think if that doesn't speak volumes about the way that Kody dehumanizes and invalidates and also just like largely ignores the personhood of everybody that he's in relationship with, I don't know what does.
3.
So I realized, you know what, there's just no point discussing it, because in the end, he's not going to do what I want him to do.
That's so sad.
4, 5, 6.
He's just completely ignoring her to count his little blocks.
7, 8, 9. Is that one piece?
Yep, 9.
9,
Yep.
10, 11, 12. Okay.
There was no way I was going to win whatsoever. And so I tried to lose with grace. I as well just tried to make the best of the situation, because it wasn't going to go how I was going to go. And if we just talked about it, we'd just be wasting time. We might as well just build the tower how he wants it built You just do it.
If in your relationship you recognize that there is no room for you to have feedback or to say, this is not how I wanted this to go, or that I am just unhappy with this, if you view that as a fruitless and useless exercise, it is time to go. It is time to leave. There is no world where a healthy relationship is largely consisted of one person getting exactly everything that they want, the way that they want it, in the time that they want it, from the people that they want it from, while you get nothing. That's never fucking appropriate.
This one was lovely. The line is shaped like a heart. Aww.
Look, it's shaped like a heart.
It's shaped like a heart.
Nancy, it's shaped like a heart. So, but
That's the last piece.
22. So
That's
we need to
22.
find 21. I just felt like it was a good rock metaphor, you know, the solid family.
Yeah.
With the heart on top.
See how it's always about Kody's family?
Keystone in love. That is beauty.
Yay.
I found it
God, this is
fascinating to
sad.
watch you guys.
Did we work
Do you,
as a
Nance?
team, Nancy? I mean,
What do you think?
Not so much.
no, we worked together, but we all both independently thinking.
I just had to do what you wanted. I
I
admit
kind
it.
of was the leader.
Yeah, I would have
Was I
done
bossy?
it different. You were bossy.
You have to know, in the end, it was very heartbreaking and frustrating. Tower was awful.
Also that Nancy is just like, anyways, isn't it such a nice day outside? Like, girl, clock in. What are you doing? A, why are we doing this exercise outside? But B, why is your role in this just to like soak up the sunshine? Like, hello? What the fuck is going on here? I don't know what Nancy's fucking deal is, but I'm not a fan of it. I'm frustrated and irritated by the way that she conducts herself in this arrangement. So listen, I have so much that I want to talk to you guys about in regards to Sister Wives, because there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of content from the earlier seasons. I am planning on making a deep dive into Kody's failures, many failures as a parent, because there's some really egregious fucking shit that's been caught on camera. So we're going to talk about that another time. But for the time being, we're going to call it here for today. Thank you guys for watching, for hanging out with me, especially those of you who've been on stream with me. I am loving watching shows with you guys on Fridays. So if you want to come do that, come hang out with me on Fridays. But if you like the video, you can subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the channel, then you can share the video to help the channel grow and to help each other grow. And I will see you guys next Saturday. Okay, bye.